team on the pitch with Casey Keller again in goal.
Well, Casey Keller has built his reputation overseas in England, but last week in Washington he was immense, coming up with crucial saves for the U.S. And an interesting decision here by the coach to put Agus into the midfield. He plays on the left side, so there'll be a little bit of a rearrangement of the U.S. today, and that's going to be interesting to see if Jeff can get forward and help the attack.
The Trinidad and Tobago starting lineup for today's match.
Well, Hayden Thomas, a surprise starter and goalkeeper. They've been going with Ross Russell, who plays with the same club as he back in Trinidad. But in midfield, the veteran, one of 3 players who play professionally in Portugal, and that is Russell Latipi, who of course played in the famous '89 match and is the captain today.
Steve Sampson, U.S. coach. Clive Charles, his assistant, 3 points last week, so a suggestion of perhaps a little bit of relaxation, but you know inside he is churning because with 2 home matches. Sebastian Pereira, the head coach of Trinidad and Tobago, gentleman there, the center of your picture of the 3 wearing the hats, and this is only his 2nd match as the Trinidad head coach. Trinidad made a change after their opening qualification loss to Costa Rica. The referee, Arturo Brizio Carter, a man of great international experience, and the referee's assistants, Francisco Sanchez and Rafael Herrera. Sun has been peeking in and out of the clouds today, and when it goes in with the wind today, it can be a little bit on the nippy side, but the temperature is 48 degrees, and the wind blowing from left to right across your television screen as we'll watch the action today at the University of Richmond Stadium, and we are set to go. U.S. Soccer and ESPN would like to thank Budweiser and all the other U.S. soccer sponsors for allowing today's game action to be brought to you commercial-free. Joe Max Moore, Eric Winalda. Winalda has just been on fire this year for the U.S. team. When he scores, more times than not, virtually always, the U.S. has a winning effort, which is what they're looking for today. There's Eddie Pope with his first touch, and immediately Keller misfiring on the clearance. He had trouble with his feet last week. Keller problems are lawless in the air and now puts it out. So Pope's first touch on the national team inauspicious. Now the U.S. on the move. Moore's ball, a lead for Harks, who's playing in an offensive midfield position today. Dexter Lee, number 17, tries to clear. Latipi, number 10. Number 11 was Leonson Lewis, a player of great international experience for Trinidad. And Thomas Dooley at the sweeper position. Claudio Reyna playing more defensively this week in the midfield. David Knockett, number 12, gets a touch, and Marvin Faustin plays it back. Number 5, Anthony Rouget, who plays with Wraith Rovers in Scotland. There are 5 European-based players in this Trinidad lineup today. Lee up the wing. Lawless there with York, and
that'll be a matchup we'll see all day. Alexi Lawless is going to be man marking Dwight York, and that is one heck of a challenge for Alexi Lawless today.
And it may be Eddie Pope man up with Jaron Nixon, who plays with FC Zurich. So there is skill on the front line for Trinidad. That is very evident. Dooley settles that ball, and we have a whistle.
Yeah, very much a push there by York. There's a strong wind blowing out there. Held that ball up.
Ramos, number 10, puts it to the far post. It hung up a little bit on that wind. It stays in. And no, it did go over the end line, but it did, as you could see very clearly, that wind was holding that ball up, and it did, yes, slip over the goal line, but you have got to be very apparent as you put a ball up in flight today what it's going to do. Yeah,
you see the flag, FIFA flag blowing so strongly there, and it affected Casey Keller's attempt to clear that nervous back pass from Eddie Pope a couple of minutes ago.
Lawless puts it away from York.
And there you see the direct style of Trinidad and Tobago, not hesitating to hit long balls forward to Dwight York or Jaron Nixon.
Qualifiers, the U.S. has lucked rather well. York tries to turn that ball, and then it's put back by Reyna to Keller. And again, his clearance is just about straight up into that wind and whacked up the wing by Ramos. Looking for more, sent right back by Dexter Francis. United States on top with the 2 goals last week of this qualifying group, and will play 2 weeks hence at Trinidad and Tobago. The man from Aston Villa, Dwight York, played in 1989 in this infamous match.
Yeah, he played for 60 minutes, and then he was replaced at the 60th minute in that match. by Hudson Charles, who's on the bench today.
Latipi. And foul against the U.S. as he was taken down. Reyna.
Claudio Reyna scrapping to try to win that ball away from Russell Latipi, the captain. Claudio Reyna has a different role to play today from what he did against Guatemala, where the midfield was very congested and he had hardly any time on the ball.
David Knockett, number 12, looking into the box and headed out by Dooley. Reyna lifts it.
Dangerous play there by Dexter Lee, going in hard on Harks. And if we mention Harks having a different role too, Johnny's going to be playing a little bit more offensive-minded to help push the ball forward and let Claudio Reyna drop back and sort of sweep, as it were, behind the midfield.
Reyna for Agus playing on the wing of the midfield this week. And the foul as Goose goes down after the play. And as opposed to last week, when the Jamaican referee Charles Barrett let everything go, this week we opened with a very tightly officiated match.
Yeah. Challenged by Angus Eve there. Well, Bricio Carter, the referee, is a very experienced referee, and we should not have any problems today.
Into the box, but Hayden Thomas is there.
Oh, well, interesting save there, because that ball dropped to waist level, and as a keeper you want to come out and catch that ball a little higher in the air.
Onside lead. This is Dwight York now with Lawless. Agus helping out. York fending off Lawless. Latipi gets a touch. Now Moore comes back looking to win the ball and works up against Latipi, but there is Lee, tackled away by Reyna. Ramos gets a touch. Very aggressive play by Trinidad and Tobago. They have dropped 5 of 6 points in their first 2 matches that were at home, and that was Death intercepted by Stewart. Nice touch. Eric Winalda. Winalda watched by Marvin Faustin, and he'll have a throw-in. Taken immediately to Ramos. With Moore playing at the penalty spot. Reyna looking for Moore. And Knockett intercepts. Played wide for Agus. You see that ball hanging up a little bit in the wind. John Harks. Moore. Stewart's got space and plenty of it on the right side. For the far post. Settled. Deflects wide.
Well, good play by the U.S., changing the ball around quite a bit from side to side. Joe Max Moore having a wonderful touch in there. But great spreading of the play over to Stewart. See, Stewart now playing on the right side of midfield. He was on the left side of midfield last week. A good quality cross just out of Joe Max's reach. And then Harksey with a wide angle to shoot that one in. Just gets it there, and they feel, oh, that was a chance. The bench feels it should have been put away.
Joe Max Moore nodded down by Knockett. Comes back to Reyna. U.S. in possession. Just underway. And now Trinidad and Tobago, a counter-attacking side with great speed and skill on the ground.
And if there's one notable weakness, then you can see evidence of it already, Bob, and that's a certain amount of indiscipline in this team. They charge in sometimes for tackles when they should hold back, and the U.S. can exploit that.
Tambore Ramos, he is taken off the ball by Lewis, and now this is Dwight York, shadowed as always by Lawless. Knockett plays it wide. Number 6 is Marvin Faustin. He played in 1989 in this rivalry, which is quite a history. The U.S. has owned it. Stewart to no one in particular on the wing. 7th minute. Ernie Stewart. He's got to climb on a plane after this match and go directly to Amsterdam. He has a match Tuesday for NAC Breda in Holland. Turned and over the top by Jaron Nixon.
Well, there's the first challenge for Eddie Pope, and he didn't handle it too well. I mean, Jaron Nixon took the ball beautifully. Nice reception of the pass by Jaron Nixon. But look at the ball coming in here. He gets away from Pope and is able to get a shot on goal as 2 players try to collapse on him. In fairness, it was covered all the way by Casey Keller. But Jaron Nixon showed us his ability to take a ball, turn, and shoot on goal.
In the midfield, Joe Max Moore flies to play it out to Harks, tackled away. And now Goose, Jeff Agus with a lead. Winalda with no one up in support, but this is Winalda on his own in front with Hayden Thomas there. He had Stewart well behind the play on the opposite flank.
Yeah, Joe Max Moore had dropped back to help set that attack up, so he would normally be filling in there behind Eric Winalda, but nobody got up there to help out.
He still made it a little spot of trouble for Trinidad.
There's a good decision by the referee. Obstruction given against Leonson Lewis. Heads up play by the ref. Now here's the other number 11, Winalda. A nice turn of pace to get by on the far side, but nobody there to help him out. That was Dexter Francis. He outstripped with that run. So good forward passes so far to Winalda.
Indirect free kick, Ramos. Chipped in by Harks. Onside, but nothing cooking. John Harks at halftime. We'll be talking with John Harks and about his love of the game and his sense of humor. Chance to see him put a ball through a window of the White House. Fictionally speaking, of course. Also great with physical comedy, and we don't want to miss that. Ernie Stewart there, along with Leonson Lewis.
Well, spirits are pretty high in the White House these days. This might be a good time to try it, as opposed to more than 10 days ago.
Faustin with the throw in, number 6. Aggressive move there. Claudio Reyna won the ball. The United States knows they're going down to Trinidad and Tobago, Port of Spain, in 2 weeks hence, and then a week after that, road match at Costa Rica. So with the first 2 opening home matches, a chance for the U.S. to take command of this group and a chance today to really put Trinidad and Tobago in a deep, deep hole. Reyna steps in, but Leonson Lewis, number 11. There's Dexter Francis, number 4. Trinidad and Tobago, thousands of fans have made the trip here for the match, and they have brought percussion instruments, and you'll be hearing them through the afternoon as Reyna settled that in Stewart. Winalda comes back. Ooh, and he got kicked and kicked hard by Leonson Lewis. You could hear his cry of pain up here.
That was a very dangerous play by Leonson Lewis, coming in very high over the top. As Winalda came back for a ball that he sort of didn't trap very well the first time, but look at that. I mean, that is way over the top. He saw the ball for a minute, but look at the ball coming in. There you see. Late challenge, but nice gesture by Winalda after this foul. He went up to Leonson Lewis and said, okay, I don't understand. You were trying for the ball, but all is forgiven.
Jeff Agus tackled away, but U.S. throw-in. The card was issued in the 11th minute to Lewis. Winalda's leg last week after the brutal match with Guatemala was a bloody pulp. There he is in the box, turning, and the shot deflected, still loose, and there is Hayden Thomas. So Winalda comes right back with a dangerous opportunity. He was a marked man literally and figuratively last week, bloodied in the effort.
Well, super play again. Look at this great ball from Harks, and look, again, the ability of Winalda to get behind the defense is what's going to cause some trouble indeed to Trinidad and Tobago.
Dwight York still on that ball after the collision with Agus. Latipi the captain. Now John Harks for the U.S. In a scoreless match, the second qualifier in 8 days for the U.S. Winalda as the keeper is out, and he punches it away, Hayden Thomas does. A bit of the wanderlust in Hayden Thomas.
Yeah, very, very shaky play by Hayden Thomas. Although a lot of people feel in Trinidad he should be the starting goalkeeper for this club, but he's been second string for quite a while.
Ramos in the box. And a handball against the U.S.
Yeah, good call there. He very definitely handled that ball going in. But look at this good piece of goalkeeping. And look at this sort of touch away. I mean, that ball is certainly playable in a better fashion than he did. Thomas is the first string goalkeeper for his club defense force, but he very often sits on the bench, and the second stringer gets the national team start, namely Ross Russell, but today, not so.
Well, they're searching for answers, and they need some points.
Right, and they clearly do have some problems in the goal. The goal is not one of their strong positions. But they like to play the ball around the back and very rarely go through the middle like this. See, they just have no success going through the middle. They prefer to hit it longer.
Now Winalda on the left wing, watched by Angus Eve, number 8, inside for Moore. Tangles there with Dexter Francis, number 4. Lee, number 17. Lawless stops it. And Goose is on the ball with 2 defenders. Reminder, Tuesday evening on ESPN2, Buffalo and Pittsburgh. A chance to take a look at Dominic Hasek in action and Mario and Jaromir. That's NHL action, Buffalo and Pittsburgh, Tuesday evening, 7:30 Eastern, right after, well, Sports Center on ESPN, and zip over for the NHL action on the Deuce. And a Trinidad player is down.
I think it might be number 8, Angus Eve. Yes, it is. Angus Eve went down. See if you can tell from this tackle here. He's on the ball and does get pretty harsh challenge from behind by Claudio Reyna. And it's not often you think of Claudio Reyna as being a person who will cause an injury. He's developed his physical game quite well in playing in Germany, but usually he's not known as kind of a hard tackling midfielder.
So the speed up rules get him on a stretcher, get him treatment, and then make a decision.
Yeah, this is a good development in international soccer these days, to get the stretcher onto the field, get the player off. It doesn't look as grim as it isn't as grim as it looks, frankly. It's just a procedure now that's normal.
Casey Keller starting in goal today for the U.S. Brad Friedel on the bench again. Steve Sampson has been very forthright in saying that Friedel has been professional in his approach to this, but he's not happy.
He is
Brad
not
does
happy.
not really like to talk about it.
He's not been happy all week. He's been a prominent feature of the U.S. defense here for quite a while. And Casey Keller, who's having a great year in England, playing with Leicester City in the Premier Division, and showed that experience again last week against Guatemala. But Keller feels he should have the job.
And yesterday, Steve Sampson said basically the starting keeper's job, as long as contention, long as qualification is up in the air, belongs to Casey Keller. It's his job to lose. So Keller will go back to England, then come back for the matches in the Caribbean in 2 weeks and then 3 weeks hence. As Lee will get some treatment. We saw last week the butcher of Leon, Ivan Leon, taken off on a stretcher and was back in the match, taking, I believe, the following throw-in. So there are amazing recuperative powers, but Eve is still on that stretcher. So at this moment, Trinidad playing a man down as Dwight York chased that ball.
And I think Dwarika is warming up for Trinidad and Tobago. He's number 9. And we thought there was a chance he might start, but he's now going to go in and play with very little warm-up.
So Dwarika, who plays professionally in Scotland, had 2 goals against the United States in the Gold Cup earlier this year, and you'll know him by his dreadlocks. Arnold Dwarika playing with East Fife, a good left-footed player.
Well, this is kind of an East Fife day out here. It's certainly more that way than Port of Spain, I'll tell you. It's raw, it's chilly.
You could sunbathe in East Fife today, could you? About 45 degrees with a chilly wind. Oh, the Scottish connection for the Trinidad professionals as Stewart lays it off. Reyna plays it ahead. Ernie lifts. Joe Max takes an elbow, stays on the ball. Harks tumbles, fair tackle. Still loose, gets a foot in. Reyna on it. Stewart with Winalda. Knotted on by Harks. Nice attempt. Good one-touch play here by the U.S. David Knockett, number 12, comes through. Nixon, number 14. Eddie Pope wins the ball in the air.
All right.
Dwarika, the substitute, number 9 on the ball. He goes down, and the foul whistled against the U.S.
Well, Eddie Pope struggling away with Jaron Nixon, and this is a yellow to Agus for the take. I think it must be to Agus for
the tackle.
The tackle, as it looked like Dwarika had a good run on goal. And he felt, the referee feels that he took him down. Let's see what happens here. Well, it wasn't he. It was Claudio Reyna. In fact, it was Reyna who came over the top. And now maybe Harks is getting the card. It's a little hard to tell who has been given the card at this point.
It is Goose who got the card. Jeff Eggers got the card.
Well, he never touched him. Claudio Reyna ran across his heels.
Free kick. Latipi with the captain's armband to take aim on Casey Keller. Wall is just outside the box. Latipi's over the ball along with Dexter Lee. And another card is issued to the U.S. Joe Max Moore receives a card, and these are important cards because the cards carry forward in qualification through the balance of all qualification. So a card now in the 18th minute to Joe Max Moore. 3 cards issued. Over the top by Dexter Francis. Descent in the wall, and Brizio Carter brooking no dissent, and has gone 3 times to his yellow card in the first 18 minutes of the match.
Well, he made one obvious mistake, as we can see from the replay. He got the wrong player, and even if he did get a player who made the foul, it was a dubious yellow, but because Warwick was bearing down on goal, you could see the referee being justified in giving the yellow, but he got the wrong player. But it's really unconscionable to be given a yellow for dissent by complaining in the wall or not moving back when told to in the wall. That's just simply not very good discipline by Joe Max.
Moore loses out. Warwick on the ball. Tackle there and a foul against Ramos. So the yellows carry forward. Last week, Mike Burns in a substitute role. Eric Winalda early on in the match got yellows. A second yellow between now and the final qualification of the final round, meaning next year would mean a 1-game suspension. There is Leonson Lewis. Stewart went down behind the play. Lewis with Nixon in the box. Moore comes back to win the ball. Stewart having problems there. He's on the ball. Let's see if he's in form here. He was slow to get up. Latipi. Ramos with him. Look at the skill. Russell Latipi plays professionally in Portugal and is taken down. And if that's a card against Ramos, is it Ramos? Yes.
Yep.
In the 20th minute, so Senor Brizio Carter has issued 4 cards in 20 minutes.
Well, I wonder if Mr. Bennett from Jamaica is watching this game on television, the referee from last week, because he could learn a thing or two. Top Ramos did commit a foul a minute ago at the other end. That was almost a setup for this one. So this is not a good situation. 5 American players already with yellows in the World Cup qualifying.
Marvin Faustin, number 6 on the free kick. Discussion in the box is Dwight York talking to Brizio Carter. You see Latipi there, and Goose watching where York is, and so is Lawless very intently.
And the wind swirling in towards that goal.
Agus puts it out. Eddie Pope puts it wide. Throw in Trinidad. 21st minute of a scoreless match in which already 4 cards have been issued. Run on by Latipi. Deflected wide and out. Corner kick, Trinidad.
Well, the U.S. very definitely on its heels defensively in the last few minutes, and the weak clearing headers, of course, in part a result of the very strong wind driving in. Tom Dooley doing a good job to get up in the air, but could not get the clearing depth he wanted out of the box.
A lot of people take the corner kick. Flicked on in front and cleared by Agus as Nixon tried to get a foot to it. Now Winalda. Trinidad right back on it. They have the momentum very definitely at this point in the match, which is scoreless. Dwight York with Aston Villa plays it wide. This is Faustin. Keller in the air at the 6.
Well, you saw Dwight York coming back to lose Alexi Lawless for a bit. And, of course, he's used to doing that, being marked very tightly as a front runner.
Stewart not showing any ill effects of that collision before. Reina accelerates quickly. Moore, nice ball for Ramos. He's got Winalda down the opposite side and Hart's in the middle, but it's put out. And, again, a bit of a misfire. 23rd minute in Richmond on ESPN2. Trinidad and Tobago and the United States scoreless in a match that has seen 4 cards already. The U.S. will have a free kick now, about 30 yards out, and again Stewart is slow to get up. U.S. in white, Trinidad and Tobago, their characteristic red. Stewart now in the box, gets in past Faustin, still on the ball. He goes down in the box, we play on. More bad touch there at the 18, and now Lewis starts to work it up the other way. Leonson Lewis. He's got Nixon and York with him, and overrun, and Reina wins the ball very neatly.
Excellent defense by Reina, getting his body inside Leonson Lewis there and stripping him of the ball.
Harks for Lawless. It's dangerous in the air with this wind. Very stiff wind that will hold balls up that are driven to the right. Jeff Agus threw that card earlier. Thomas Dooley, the sweeper. Winalda faking a run down the right side, and now Stewart on the square ball. Winalda with Moore in front.
Lots of red shirts in the penalty area.
Looking
to
for
pick
Moore
someone out. Yeah, but very tough to pick him out with all those retreating Trinidad players.
Jaron Nixon against Eddie Pope, and it'll be a throw-in for Trinidad and Tobago. Keep an eye on that matchup all afternoon.
That's a tough baptism, you got to say, for Eddie Pope. Ernie Stewart, you'll see Ernie Stewart battling away here. He gets into the penalty area. Is he tripped, or does he just lose the ball? But Sampson thinks that's got to be a penalty. But the referee, Arturo Bricio Carter, right there on the spot.
It is a different texture and feeling to a World Cup qualifying match. Now the U.S. has last week under its belt, and now this week as it bounced down in the area, but Dooley settles, and now Stewart, Knockett, number 12. Stewart taken down from behind, the foul.
Well, a lot of the play for the United States has been down the flanks here, as we see Ernie Stewart, one of the flank players on the right side, and Agus on the other. There you see Agus on the far side. A great ball to him.
Jeff Agus in front. Winalda runs on and chips. It hangs up in the air, and Agus will have another shot at it. Harks. Claudio Reyna, U.S. keeping possession, building an attack now. Marvin Faustin, Eddie Pope with a touch. Onside for Winalda. You see that ball again in the wind hanging up. Winalda far post. In front, touchdown. Agus runs on, and it's wide.
But obviously the U.S. tactics are to go down the wings as much as possible, get around the back. They feel they can take advantage of Marvin Faustin and Dexter Lee. And here we see the cross coming in from Winalda, and it's a setup for Agus, but he whacks it with his right foot, which is not his strong foot, and it goes harmlessly wide.
We saw Hayden Thomas commit and miss there.
Yeah. Now the keeping is questionable, and the defending of Trinidad and Tobago is also questionable, particularly down the wings. They like to hit the long ball up top. You see them once again trying to get the early ball out of the back, Trinidad and Tobago, and USA usually able to get it, but Lawless loses.
Lataby pushing up his Faustin. There's Lewis, number 11. Watched at this point by Stewart. And just a bad ball by Leonson Lewis.
It's an interesting statement, Bob, about how far U.S. soccer has come, that in this match today, the U.S. is the team that's building from the back and looking through midfield and trying to spring players free down the flanks with some nice combination passing. And Trinidad and Tobago, quite the contrary. They stroke it around the back, but they're looking up top for the long ball all the time. That used to be the U.S. style.
Now the U.S. style is, under Steve Sampson, attack, 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 and be ready to reverse gears at any given moment. Tab Ramos. 3 men around him. It'll be a throw-in for the U.S. David Knockett did the 3. Reyna. Agus. Picked up by Dwariga. Touched by Harks. Squaring it off, Reyna to Stewart. Eddie Pope. His first appearance for the national team today. Stewart looking perhaps for a service in. Karams to Reyna to break for the U.S. Onside ball. Joe Max Moore as Thomas retreats into his goal. Moore far post. Knotted out. Corner kick.
Oh. Tough decision taken by Joe Max Moore there, because Harks had gone to the far post to get the ball, but Claudio Reyna was wide open at the penalty spot.
Harks a high corner, Lawless in the air. Winalda, the ball nearly crawled up his arm, nothing whistled, and Dwight York lays it back to Lewis. Challenged by Winalda. The man of international skills. Dwight York with Stewart. York prone. Good ball by Lawless. Harks now. He's got Goose coming up the left side. He sees them. A lot of space now for Jeff Agus. With Moore in the middle and Ronaldo across the way. U.S. again patiently building. Ernie Stewart. Moves in on Faustin. And a reminder, the Senior PGA Tour. Today at 5 on ESPN. Jay Siegel going into that last round. -9 with a 3-stroke lead over Bob Charles. Jim Colbert, Ray Floyd, Lee Trevino, Hale Irwin in the field. The action today at 5 Eastern on ESPN.
Well, we've learned that Angus Eve has gone down with a muscle pull or a tear behind the right knee. Tough break for him. But Dwarika, his replacement, is a dangerous player, so no relief for the U.S. there.
Ramos stays on the ball. Reyna now gathers it.
Reyna, the victim of some late hits, and I think that's what sort of got him to lose his composure early on.
Nice run by Harks, lays it off for Agus. Harks in the box now. And put out by Dwarika. Looking for York. Lawless with the ball. U.S. still on it.
Trinidad Tobago playing a very loose and not very effective offside trap, and the U.S. have been able to get people in behind them a number of times.
Lawless, as Latipi gets a foot to it. Throw in for the United States.
Lawless doing a pretty good job so far in Dwight York. Dwight's not looked too dangerous, but he doesn't, he's having trouble. I think York is really staying in touch with some of the players around him. He's pretty much on his own up there, except for Jaron Nixon.
Joe Max Moore. When all is still there, that ball's still in. And a throw in. Reyna against Nixon. And comes right to the defense. Case last week, Guatemala would have been, I think, satisfied with a draw. Trinidad and Tobago really has to win today. United States with 3 points off last week's 2-0 victory over Guatemala. Stewart now to the center. He's got Winalda. Gets away from Lee. Now Latipi watching defensively. Agus. Winalda touched by Moore. Back on to Waldo trying to play it to himself in the box. The keeper comes off his line. And a foul against the U.S.
Well, good retreating run there by Dexter Lee, getting in front of Winalda and blocking his path to goal, but staying close enough to the ball. As you see, Winalda pushing from behind in frustration of being unable to get around Dexter Lee. And obviously not appreciating the referee's decision. U.S. just not able to get that good opening for a shot on goal. Good approach work, but the final shot on goal is not happening for them.
Good touch there by Lawless, reaching through York to touch it. Faustin, the left back. He's got Lewis at midfield right there, watched by Stewart. Ramos wins the ball. Stewart touches it. Reyna for Harks. Goose makes a run up the left side. He's got Moore to his right. Across the way, and Winalda coming down the middle. Jeff Agus. Harks behind him now. Winalda. Ramos behind him. Right on goal to Thomas. Touches it, but poorly. Knotted down in front at the 6. A collision. We play on. Weak save by Hayden Thomas, which caused the problem at the 6 in the collision and nothing whistled.
Well, and the crowd booing the referee here for the second time, not giving a penalty decision. You see if this was a penalty decision. Was Harks taken down? It's a dreadful save by the goalkeeper. And now we see it going through, but obviously he tries to get behind him, and it looked to me as though Dexter Lee stepped right into his path and very definitely blocked him, so it was at least an obstruction, if not a penalty kick, but certainly there was an attempt to hinder Harks' run to the ball. Oh, bad mistake there by the U.S., letting the ball run loose.
Latipi with the ball. Dwight York, number 18, watched by Harks. They know each other from their play in England. Faustin. Pointless shot.
Terrible decision by Faustin. All these players had come forward. Finally, Trinidad and Tobago got a bunch of players forward into the box. Good targets for him. And, you know, he decides to take a long-range, very low percentage shot.
Clive Charles listening, and Steve Sampson opining on the bench.
Well, we've got to be concerned about the fact they've had so much possession the U.S. has near the Trinidad Tobago goal, and nothing has come of it.
There's York. Dooley with a tackle. And a fair one.
Well, Dooley doing a good job sweeping there as Alexi Lalas had to drift away for Dwight York.
Now Faustin, who took that last shot to abort the possession for Trinidad and Tobago. Nice move. Reina doing a nice job in midfield today defensively, which is his task, and he's up to it. And there's Knockett, number 12. Latapy. Watch the bottom line, too, across your screen to keep you updated on all the American football action. Is down at the edge of the area goes Dwarka, and we play on as he made his move on goal. Vegas with a header. Touched by Knockett, but Moore comes back. Sam Ramos.
Oh,
A bad ball. He had Winalda with time and space on the right wing, but put it out.
well, he had to put it in that general direction because I don't think he could trust a longish ball into the wind with the defender coming over. So he wanted to play it short to Winalda, but he just mishit it. Very unlike Tab Ramos, who's so accurate in his passing. So 14 fouls so far. But very few of them have been of the kind of brutal variety that we saw last week. There have been a couple of these Trinidadian and Tobago players are tough tacklers. I mean, they like to stroke the ball around, but when they come in and challenge you, you feel it.
Lee's ball for Dwight York. And last touched by York. Sam's Army making their appearance at the match, and Stars and Stripes in evidence last Sunday at RFK. We see the Trinidadian fans in attendance as well. They are known as the Red Army as they follow their team. A lot of Guatemalan fans who frankly out-vocalize the U.S. fans, and there's a loud Trinidad contingent here today. Long ball as Hayden Thomas comes out to gobble it up in front of Winalda.
Great ball. Actually, you see Eric Winalda applauding there. Again, difficult to play into the wind. You have to allow for the wind, but that time it just was slightly overhit. But Winalda's run was made, and he was through the defense.
Hark's watching Lee. Moore trying to win that ball.
But that's a tough challenge to win against a Trinidad player. They're very tough in the tackle.
Wallace and York battling. Lee and St. Louis now. Nixon, number 14. Latapy. Again, Reina gets a touch. Doing a very effective job in the middle of the midfield.
Well, a little bit of impatience creeping into the USA game. You hear now, you see these long balls being launched forward. That's a tactic that looks good at times, but it's not really pulled off for them. They look better when they come down the flanks.
Let's see if they build with this possession now. Stewart's got Moore in front of him, as well as Ramos. Reina, Ernie Stewart. Watched by Faustin, and that through ball, and Stewart goes down again. He has taken a whacking time and again today. Ramos now with Moore and Winalda in the box for the far post, looking for Waldo. Still in play. John Harks against Dwarka with Goose behind him. Moore couldn't get a head on it, and David Neckett, who plays professionally in Lebanon, starts his run. Number 12, Lawless keeps it away from York, which is his job on this pitch today, and Reina comes through the ball well, and Winalda puts it wide for Stewart, who is through getting hit and gives a little push of his own. Thomas Dooley. Jeff Agus. A more patient possession by the United States with John Harks now against Dwarka. Goose with the ball in. Ramos tried to run on. And Latapy, the captain for Trinidad and Tobago, walks it out.
But he sees nobody to pass to. He has to go backwards. As the midfield players around him are simply not offering him passing targets, they'll eventually knock it long. There's the long ball for the striker coming back, and Pope in trouble with Nixon again. Jaron
Nixon, number 14, plays in Switzerland. Agus looks. Ball. Nixon making a run on the right side. Dooley calmly collecting the ball. push there as York pushes. Down went Thomas Dooley. Let's see if a card is out for that one. It doesn't appear.
Well, he was absolutely blindsided by this. He has no idea what's coming. And in the old days, they used to call that a shoulder-to-shoulder charge. But that was with extra force, and Dwight York draws a yellow card.
So the card is shown in the 39th minute to York. Did not get a card.
Did not get a
correction.
Oh.
Correction.
Thought I saw the card come out.
All right. Nixon with a flick on. York against Lawless. That battle continues, and Alexi with the foul.
York, of course, is used to this kind of attention in England. He plays with his back to goal a lot, as I said, and Alexi Lawless is just one of many central defenders that York has to come up against in the Premier League week after week after week. So this is no surprise to him. He's learned how to deal with it.
Keller has seen York close up too. Leonson Lewis in the box, put out by Dooley. Ronaldo tried to win it. Knock it, puts it wide for Leeds, extra Lee number 17. Dwarika gets inside with a left foot, but it sails harmlessly on top.
Well, it's the first time we've seen a player come forward like Dexter Lee from that far back, and Dwarika was the beneficiary of that work, but his shot was way off target.
If you love the X Games, then you will want to make a point to check out Destination Extreme, presented by Slim Jim, Monday at 10:30 Eastern on the Deuce. The whole world is watching. The X Games hit the road. You got BMX, biking, inline skating. That's Monday at 10:30 Eastern on ESPN2. Latipi. Arnold Dwarika, first touch for York. Dooley has it. And now Lawless with a good ball in midfield. And Moore for Harks.
Just a misreading there between Harks and Wijnaldum. Harks thought he was coming short, and he was going long.
Stewart for Wijnaldum, and he has it inside the box. He goes down, and a warning for the dive from Brizio Carter.
Yeah, and appropriately so.
Wijnaldum has a yellow already. Knock it, number 12 on the counterattack, blocked by Dooley wide. Well, Wijnaldum slow to come back to the other end of the field.
Well, a little touch around him, and then, wait. I mean, the picture tells it. No need to comment on that.
Hurt himself diving, though. In the box. That shot whistling wide off the left foot. The U.S. looking for the offside on the shot by Jared Nixon.
Well, that's the only thing that the U.S. has got to be worried about defensively. And this man has to be worried about it, and that is when York and Nixon have the ball at their feet in the box. I mean, it's one thing to have it be played off their chest or off their head, but when this man, Nixon, has the ball at his feet, he can turn, he can twist, he can get away. He just has been poor in finishing, but they're very dangerous.
The goal kick. Goose puts a head to it. Reyna cuts it out for Harks. And a little pressure here from Trinidad and Tobago is Dooley. Now Latipi's on it. He's got Dwarika in front of him. Lewis making a run. Nixon on the ball. Nice touch by Pope in the air to win the ball. And Ramos a little bit behind Wijnaldum.
Yeah, once again, Eric was running that way, looking for the ball played over the top to him, and I think he was right, because that's where the space was. But Ramos played it short.
And then dribbled it right in to the defense. Nixon with a left foot that's harmlessly to the right of Casey Keller.
Well, you see so few shots on goal there. There's been a lot of attacking play. And the U.S. has certainly had more than its share of opportunities around the goal. And Trinidad and Tobago having a few chances too. But again, you saw the indiscipline there on the part of Jared Nixon. 35 yards out, taking a shot 30 yards out when he had players in front of him in a better position.
Maybe looking for their own shot heard around the world, a la Paul Caligiuri. 7 years ago was Wijnaldum with the cross, touched by Moore, right on to Hayden Thomas.
Great speed by Waldo down the right side, and a good central run by this man, Joe Max Moore, who's probably upset that he wasn't quite able to get a strong foot on it. But look at, he gets in behind everybody, and just can't quite wrap it around it and tuck it in the corner. But terrific challenge by Anthony Rougier, and he got away from him.
Pope in that tangle there with Nixon, and the U.S. wins the ball with Stewart, looking for a streaking Joe Maxmore, who is 1 on 4 at that moment.
But Joe Maxmore, again, the beneficiary of an attack by the U.S. down the flanks. They just have to go back to that a bit more, vary it side to side, but when they do it, it's very effective.
Dwight York. That ball named Rougier, number 5, one of the central defenders for Trinidad and Tobago. There was a headline in a paper in Port of Spain earlier this year for one of the qualifying matches. The headline said simply, as Lawless takes that out of the air, 1989 must not happen again. And the reference to the home match in 89, a giveaway, a lot of people the left foot. And again, these long-distance shots are not on goal at all. A reference in that headline to the game in which the U.S. on the Caligiuri goal qualified for Italy in 1990.
Harks, Johnny Harks there, upset with the pass that's intended for English. You see him shaking his head. They just misunderstood exactly who was going where when. And anytime you play a ball centrally, that misunderstanding it can't be allowed. You really got to know what you're doing.
Harks, that ball. Dexter Francis on it. Rougier. Now Francis clears, and now Goose on it. Chavegus, who threw the yellow earlier, we believe it. A mistake by the referee on that tackle, but it goes in the book. Eddie Pope now with an offensive foray, his first of the day. Stewart eludes the tackle. He's got more to his right. Winalda in the box along with Harks. Joe Maxmore. Ramos. Can he turn the ball? Ball is goal kick.
Well, good attempt by Todd Ramos to get around the back. Again, as I've said countless times, that's where they look the most dangerous. When they bring extra players over, set up 1 against 2 even, or 2 against 2 situations, they're able to exploit it.
Ramos making his 73rd appearance today for the U.S. national team, 10th on the all-time list of appearances. Lewis with Ernie Stewart. A throw-in for Trinidad and Tobago. We'll have some time added on here at the end of the first half because of the injury to Angus Eve.
Well, this is a crucial part of the game for the U.S. They've dominated a large part of it. You certainly do not want to give anything away at this point.
Knocked, number 12. And there is Stewart with Faustin on it, number 6, with Latapy, the captain. He has Lee making a run down the right side when all the challenges, tries to win that ball, and the foul against Latapy, who grasped a piece of Eric Winalda.
Sure did, and Eric up again, shaking hands, wanting to play on, and that's a good example for other players around him. You see him obviously grabbing Winalda around the knee and pulling him down, and Winalda just gets up and shakes his hand. And with 3 cards already in the U.S., that's the kind of behavior they need to see more of.
Dodgy clearance there in the box, almost a chance for Winalda on the clearance.
Yeah, Dexter Francis with the miss kick there.
Injury time in Richmond, Virginia. The USA, Trinidad and Tobago. The second qualification match for the USA. This is the first time the U.S. national team has ever played a match in the Commonwealth of Virginia. And we are at halftime of that historical footnote of a match. In a scoreless match, the USA and Trinidad and Tobago. At halftime, we will have highlights and also a visit with the U.S. captain for life, John Harks, on a chilly day. Chance for the U.S. to use that home field to thank MasterCard and all other U.S. soccer sponsors for allowing today's game action to be brought to you commercial-free. And Winalda and Joe Maxmore, 1 and 4 respectively all-time, are in today's lineup as they were last week.
Well, this is a very important half now for the U.S. Obviously, a tie here is not a disaster for them. With 4 more matches to play, it would be a tough result for Trinidad, but the wind is now blowing very much behind the U.S. player, so they won't have quite as much trouble getting the ball forward.
And Faustin, number 6, right off. The first possession for Dwight York, number 18. York with Lawless. This is Lee. It's away from Agus, looking for Dwarika. Dooley with a nice touch as he goes down, and now Harks up the wing looking for Winalda. And a throw in for Trinidad and Tobago. No substitutions as we can detect either way. We thought we might see Preggy. We may yet see him in this match. He was an immediate impact last week against Guatemala. Opportunity's not necessarily the problem for the U.S. today. They've had their openings, their moments. And there is Harks.
Well, they've had their moments. Preggy, if he comes in, what he would add, of course, is his very good one-on-one skill in the penalty area or around the edges, which he showed us last time, not to mention his great left-footed shooting.
Stewart with a deft touch. Now Ramos with a lift for Joe Maxmore offside. Flag is up.
Oh, very late flag. Very late flag.
Play continued. Moore didn't hear the whistle.
I thought he beat it. I thought he beat the trap.
Offside. Our game summary, the Bud game summary, 4 cards, 3 to the U.S., 18 fouls in the first half, Keller making 1 save, and Hayden Thomas, for whom goalkeeping is not a job but an adventure, making 3. Leonton Lewis, deft move, gets past Dooley, but now Ramos is there. Jaron Nixon, number 14 for Trinidad and Tobago. Eddie Pope in his national team debut against Nixon. Stewart helping out. Nixon goes down. And we play on.
Well, was this offside or not a moment ago? You see the ball being played through as everybody comes up. Well, it's a little hard to tell there, but it looked to me as though Dexter Lee, the number 17 player on the right side, was playing Joe Maxmore onside with that with his late move forward. But the referee and linesman flag came up, but it was a very late flag.
Now Winalda. Looking in front. As it bounds down, and Thomas is there with Joe Maxmore coming right down the gut.
Well, the wind is a difficult factor here. I mean, soccer players are used to all kinds of conditions. Winalda knows that he had to tangle with the wind as well as timing of the ball played into Joe Maxmore and also keeping an eye out for where the defenders were running. So, got 3 factors to consider in trying to get a good cross in.
Dooley with that ball all the way back to Trinidad and Tobago. So a similar script to last week in this regard. Oh, a bad clearance by Thomas. Almost handed it away.
And Winalda just slipping there, otherwise he might have intercepted it. Winalda doing the right thing there, challenging the keeper. He knows his keeper is a little shaky, so he goes in on what is usually a low percentage rush, but it always worked.
Scoreless at the half, as it was last week. The U.S. scored in the 55th minute last week against Guatemala. And we are in the 49th minute in Richmond, Virginia. Live on ESPN2. Bob Lee and Seamus Mallon, the U.S. in white, Trinidad and Tobago in red. The U.S. on top of its qualifying group. Russell Latapy on the ball. Warwick pushed away by Agus and Goose back on it. Dooley comes up from sweeper with a touch for Joe Maxmore. Dooley making a run up the middle. A chip for Dooley. No one there. Dexter Francis lays it off.
Dooley with a good rush forward there, Bob. Makes the tackle, and the U.S. wins it.
And he ties up Dexter Lee behind the play so that John Harks has got some room now and some time to get it to Winalda in the box with a left hook. Right on to Hayden Thomas.
Good move by John Harks there. Terrific play, setting up Winalda. And then Harks himself ran into a great position to get a return ball. But Winalda is a shooter, and that's what he expects to do. Now look at Harks, running right to the center of the screen for that return ball. But instead, Winalda takes a shot on goal, which is, you know, what strikers want to do, and he's got to do it.
Jaron Nixon with Eddie Pope on the far touchline. It'll be U.S. ball. Nixon scored against Guatemala in qualification in a match that Trinidad and Tobago drew. That got to be a very ugly scene in Port of Spain. Bottle throwing late in that match between the crowd and the Guatemalan bench, which at that point was protesting time added on.
This is where Trinidad and Tobago has trouble. They have trouble getting out of their own end, although not so much that time because nobody picked up the number 12 player, David Nackett.
Dwight York with a touch. Lee sends it in for Knockett. Agus with a header. Ramos, Reina, Moore comes back. U.S. confidently now with space and numbers. Ramos for Winalda. Harks behind him. Stewart coming down the opposite flank. Winalda still on it. Winalda on his left foot hits the post.
Great chance for the USA, and both Reyna and Stewart wide open in front. And this time I think Winalda does make the wrong option and shoots narrowly. As we'll take a look at the replay now. His great control of the ball and getting around the defense is unquestioned here. But look at, he's got players open in front and he opts to go near post.
Corner kick for the U.S. Joe Max Moore. As Lawless comes up. Header save off the back line. And another corner kick.
Marvin Faustin frustrating Tom Dooley. Tremendous run and header by Dooley. And Faustin, the number 6 player, was the one on the line. Exactly where he should be, and he touched it away.
Agus to take the corner now with his left foot.
Surprisingly, Alexi Lawless is not in the box for this corner, although he's making a late run now.
As he did on the last corner. Goose sends it back in, volleys it nicely, header, goal! Thomas Dooley, and the U.S. on top.
What a great goal by Tom Dooley. And what a phenomenal serve by Agus. An absolutely classy volley by Agus. You'll see the ball come, it's cleared out here. But look at this now, this volley in by Agus. With the left foot, tremendous header. Super finish by Tom Dooley. But look at that cross by Agus. And this great snapping header by Tom Dooley. Burying it low in the corner, right in your living room. You see this cross come in. Look at the position of Dooley. He's way out, but he makes no mistake redirecting this header. Keeper, I think, might have gotten a finger on it, but the USA goes up 1-0.
Stellar goal. Agus, the assist. Dooley, the goal in the 52nd minute. So the U.S., similar to last week, on the quick restart, and 10 yards not given there off that handball. And now a card shown to Latipi in the 53rd minute, our 5th card of the match.
Well, Tom Dooley, of course, had a superb header to score, but a probably even better header for the one that was cleared off the line by the terrific jump of Marvin Faustin. And there's Russell Latipi that gets the yellow card. So U.S. now very much in control.
Stewart with a service. Lee. Warwick can't clear. Agus, who had that scintillating assist. And now John Harks goes down. Lee takes him down. Free kick U.S. for Thomas Dooley, his 7th goal for the national side as the captain there, John Harks, taken down.
Wow, this is a great run by John Harks. Look at the fake cross and the great sprint by the defender. Defender is faked by the is faked out by Harks' attempt to bluffing shot and chops him down. Now here's a good chance for the U.S. to get a 2nd goal and really put a crusher in here on Trinidad and Tobago. They've been practicing these shots all week around the wall, and the wind really helps here. They can use it properly.
Lawless is in the wall. Pope on the far side.
Dooley is helping too.
Chip right on. Not really on net.
Well, Eric Winalda is upset here because he had worked hard on this during the week, and it just was not on target the way he wanted it to be.
Brecky ready to come on for Joe Max Moore, we understand. I don't believe the substitute has actually been handed in. The Bud scoring summary, Thomas Dooley from Agus in the 52nd minute. And when you think about those two players, people look at Dooley's age, 35, playing sweeper back, and Agus playing a different position for him in the national team picture on the outside of midfield. And whatever questions there were, answered right there in one brilliant sequence. Into the box. Agus clears there with his left foot.
Well, Agus has been man-marking Dwarika ever since he came in. He's been more cautious about going forward, has Agus, but he went forward one time when it really counted.
There's Dwarika, watched by Reyna. Agus helping out. Agus gets a foot in. Dwight York down, over 18. Lawless with him. Dexter Lee, a slow ball, so the defense with a chance to catch up. Knockett can't get it. Latipi can't either. There's Faustin, number 6, and won by the U.S. 56th minute, the goal from Dooley. Exceptional service by Agus, and the Dooley header has been the one goal of this match. In the box, that shot over the top by Lee in St. Louis.
Very good breakthrough by Leonson Lewis there on the far side as we see Preki about to come in. And you're right, Joe Max Moore is coming out. So the U.S. has got to be careful not to let the exuberance of scoring cause a lapse in concentration. Now, when Preki came in last week, he did some tremendous things. First of all, he had a shot that just skimmed over the bar, and then he did some great one-on-one dribbling. As substitution also coming in for Trinidad Tobago, number 16 is going to come in for them.
Richard Theodore will be coming on, replacing Lewis.
Here's a recap of the first corner. But look at that. Great attempt on goal by Dooley, and it was cleared so nicely. But this time, Dooley makes no mistake with a glancing header to the far post. And an absolute textbook goal by Tom Dooley.
In the air, the U.S. with pressure, and then the goal. Thomas Dooley from Jeff Agus. 52nd minute, it is 1-0. Agus number 12. Claudio Reyna. It's away from Dwight York. There's Ernie Stewart. United States on top of the table in this group. 3 more points today would put them in a very good position. Winalda, who's been frustrated today, has had his chances. There's Lee, number 17. There's York. Lala step for step. And now Lee. Hart's watching him. Knockett, number 12. Preki marking him. Theodore just into the match, number 16.
Good possession here by Trinidad Tobago.
Faustin. Knocked down by Nixon.
But again, there's a classic piece of Trinidad Tobago play, Bob. Wonderful possession, kept the ball, stroked it about, switched the play, and then do something incredibly inappropriate by drilling a ball from 40 yards out, which nobody could receive as a pass and was probably intended as a long-range shot. So,
reminder, it's out there, it's up there on the satellite, and it's yours, ESPN News. Call your local cable operator or satellite provider 24 hours a day. The breaking sports news highlights and analysis. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. ESPN News. Looking for York. Wallace. Vegas now watching York.
So Richard Theodore, number 16, has come in as he's a defender, and he's replaced Leonson Lewis, Jeff Agus, who's had such a steady game.
Nice run by Reyna to run onto that ball with Winalda, who is left. Reyna runs down the middle, return. Claudio Reyna left foot. Saved by Thomas. A bit of a misfire by Claudio, but a nice run as he won that ball at midfield.
Well, a good run through, too, by Reyna, who's not supposed to be attacking that much today. But he went forward as John Harks covered him at the back. Lovely little chip through. Takes it nicely on his chest. And then angles a shot for the far post, but good credit to Hayden Thomas for watching his near post well and then being able to stretch and get the softest shot and need a little bit more power.
Latifi for Trinidad and Tobago. Now Faustin, watched by Ramos. Dooley, who has the goal. Reyna with a touch. Stewart plays it wide.
Misunderstanding there between Ramos and Stewart. Stewart didn't go where Ramos expected him. Good retreating defense there by John Harks.
He's played very well today in the offensive midfield position.
Preki's passed it a little bit too fast, but Preki did some wonderful passing against Guatemala. And Tom Dooley has gotten, of course, the key goal, but he's also done a very good job sweeping for the USA. 12 games in the U.S., 12 different goal scorers. And that is a very good sign to see, in addition, of course, to the Winalda factor.
21 goals in 12 matches this year for the U.S. national team. David Knockett with a ball.
And they're working on their 6th straight World Cup qualifying shutout. They had 4 games in the in 88, 89. The last 4 games they did not concede a goal. Shutout last week, and so far they're ahead 1-0.
To this point, Casey Keller, the clean sheet against Guatemala. Bad ball there, and the U.S. with an opportunity. Ramos looking for Winalda. It's a foot race. Thomas out of his area with his left foot.
Well, there may be more chances like that coming for the USA because Trinidad and Tobago are going forward a lot more now. They're sending defenders forward more, and that will open up some spaces in the middle for quick releases out of the midfield, and that's where Preki is so good.
He had an immediate impact last week, and today his second cap, just a U.S. citizen for a little over 2 weeks now. Predrag Radoslajevic, number 14 in white. Preki had a stellar year with Kansas City in Major League Soccer. Of course, the MLS in its premier season allowing so many of these national team players to be based domestically. Sebastian Pereira, his second match as the national coach. Trinidad and Tobago drew with Guatemala at home and right now trailing on the road. They've dropped 5 of 6 points in 2 home matches. A loss today will just render them all but statistically dead in this group. Reina trying to reverse play. Preki tangling with Dwarika. Theodore, number 16, with a ball. Dooley is there.
Dooley did very well there. It was a good thing he did because he was beaten for depth, if you will. He was caught flat there and had to really stretch to get that through pass away. If he missed that, I think it would have been the tying goal for Dwight York.
Agus now. Winalda with Harks to the inside. Looking for Harks.
Foul.
Foul just outside the area.
Yeah, Rougier with a tackle that you get away with at Wraith Rovers, but it's a Scottish Premier Division, but not here. Let's take a look. Ronaldo dribbling again across the defense, and yeah, he's very definitely taken down as he had released the ball. The sun shining in now in the goalkeeper's eyes, much the way it did back in '89 when Caligiuri got his great goal down in Trinidad.
John Harks, Tabaremos near the ball. You see the wall well inside the box.
Watch Lawless here too.
Lawless in the air, header, saved by Hayden Thomas as he skied. Alexi Lawless. Thomas, the keeper, may have injured himself as he landed making that save.
Well, it's interesting to see what will happen here. Will he clear the ball or just kick it out of play and get some attention? No. Look at this ball fly in. A good run, far post run by Lawless, and he was trying to get the ball into Eddie Pope for the second header. Of course, Pope's most famous header was in the MLS Cup when he got the winning goal in overtime for DC United.
Dooley out of the back. Jeff Agus. Winalda's got Preki with him now. Crisscrossing with Preki, with Goose coming up as well. Tried to touch it to Agus. Theodore gets it away from Agus.
Agus in good support, but Preki might have been the better option for the pass there.
And last touch by Thomas Dooley. Little satisfaction there in that man's face. It's not over. It isn't over by any stretch.
And in fact, the last time these two teams played in the USA in a World Cup qualifying, the U.S. scored first to I think it was Steve Tritchu, and then the tying goal came in by a man on the bench today, Hudson Charles, in the 88th minute. And that was a critical goal because it meant the USA had dropped a point and had to go down and win the whole thing in Trinidad.
Which they did with the shot heard round the world by Paul Caligiuri. Winalda. Now Preki, who can score from that distance and be lethal. Reina for Stewart. Ramos to his left. Harks lays it off. And Faustin defensively. Lawless keeping it away from York. Winalda with Theodore. Nice possession by Winalda.
Good rush forward by Alexi Lawless too.
Now Harks will reverse the play. Stewart crisscrossing with Ramos.
Good possession here, the U.S. wing-to-wing stuff.
Preki. Oh, a dipping ball that just was a tad high. We talked about the shot heard round the world. John Harks played in that match, so did Tam Ramos. Paul Caligiuri will forever be remembered for this.
Well, I was there in that crowd during that game on television in front of in a sea of red. 35,000 Trinidadians all came wearing their red shirts to support their team. They were there 3 hours before the kickoff, filling the stadium.
Winalda down the right wing. Nice cross. Thomas out to the 6. Caligiuri not with the U.S. team today as Winalda made that run. Caligiuri is home in California. His father, Robert, had quadruple bypass surgery this past week. We understand Mr. Caligiuri is doing well. All with his father and maybe called back in for the road matches. Warwica now, number 9, watched by Agus and Reina. And Agus, who is the assist and has played a solid defensive match as well.
Well,
nice back heel there.
Yeah, and good work by Reina, forcing Warwica into the position where Agus had taken up and making the strip easier. Ooh, that's a pretty
2 back heels
piece of play by John Hartz.
67th minute. Dooley's goal, the difference. Stewart looking for Brecky now. Stewart makes his run to the inside. Brecky 1-on-3 and finally taken off the ball.
I think the scouting report is in on Brecky. There's not much question about it. After the deking he did against Guatemala, Trinidad coaching staff are sending, have clearly told their players to double and triple team him whenever he gets towards the edge of the box.
Second foul in the last 15 seconds against the U.S. 23 on the match total.
But few of them really nasty. Just tough, normal kinds of challenging fouls in this game.
Right, York. Watched now by Ramos. Latipi, the captain for Trinidad and Tobago. Reina got a piece of it. Latipi back on it. Reina watching. So is Ramos. Header by Reina. Touched by Ramos. Well, Claudia Reina moved back into that defensive midfield role today and has shown well, had that good run about 5 minutes ago for a scoring opportunity as well. Knock it for Latipi.
The U.S. needs a sweeper right
York
now.
in the box, and there's Lawless. And he clears.
And it's right back.
Trinidad with sustained pressure here, at least in possession. Warwica looking for Nixon, turns and just shoots wide. Jaron Nixon.
Well, Dooley, who is a sweeper, came up there to try to play the offside trap, and all of a sudden it was an isolation. Well, he came in to make the challenge, actually, and there was an isolation left between Jaron Nixon and Pope, and look at that fighting and battling. And Pope does everything he can, hurling his body in front of him, but this is a terrific first game for Eddie Pope. A very tough challenge for him. He's really got his hands full trying to cope with the skillful and experienced Nixon.
Nice tackle by Reina. Agus. Reminder, next Friday and Sunday on ESPN, the Compact World Putting Championship. This is Winalda in the box, whistling it just wide of the far post. And he had his wood out of the bag for that one. That was not a putt.
Very intelligent, quick throw in by Harks, and an absolutely confident half volley taken by Winalda. A lot of players would not have attempted that because it was a difficult ball to try to do something with.
Well, the U.S. profile around the world certainly has changed, not just in results, but the nature of the team. An offensive-minded team that will at every turn, as the foul is called against Trinidad, and another U.S. player is down behind the play.
That's Claudio Reina, yep.
Quick restart. This is onside. Winalda in the box. Blocked down. Winalda still with it. Brecky looking to turn. There's Stewart. Watched by Faustin. Ramos. Ramos. The cross lifted by Warwica. Now Knockin with Stewart. An immediate restart by the U.S. Caught the Trinidad and Tobago defense definitely napping. Brecky. Put out by Theodore. We play on. U.S. in possession. Now Agus. John Harks, the captain, gets inside past Latipi, past Theodore with a shot just over the top.
Well, terrific play by the U.S. here, win possession and fighting and getting it to the back line by Brecky, by Ramos, and then a typical John Harkes run across the defense, getting away from two people. And John knows that he wanted to put that lower into that near corner, but look at Tab Ramos' run here through the defense, to the line, and only Dwarka's lunge just saves the day for Trinidad and Tobago. So it's all U.S. here. They just have to be sure to keep their composure and their balance at the back. And not give the ball, not give the ball away, just like they did there.
Latifi for Dwarka, but Agus jetting back. John Harkes, who just whistled that one high. Again, working the left side with Winalda.
Well, Eddie Pope has really had a workout today, and I just don't know if he's got 90 minutes in him against a player of the caliber of Nixon. It's tough. Tough test, tough thing to ask of him.
It's his first appearance for the national team. He has only trained 4 times with the U.S. national team, trying to pursue a degree at the University of North Carolina while he was playing this year in Major League Soccer, and facing a career decision. Playing in a very vital role in an important match today. Knotted down by Dooley, collected by Harkes. Dwarka with him, and there's Winalda with Brecky. He's got Stewart to his right. Onside, Winalda, and there is Hayden Thomas out.
Very good goalkeeping there, anticipating the run of Eric Winalda. He's had 5 shots today, and the last one he had, that great half volley, was very classy. And he's had a couple of blocks, and he's hit a post.
York holds off Lawless, lays it back.
Now Trinidad is bringing some players forward. TNT are coming forward with numbers. They got 7 players forward.
Dwarka against Agus, with Latifi in front of him. York tried it at the edge of the box. Lawless got a foot on it, and then Dooley puts it out of trouble.
Well, what the U.S. has got to be concerned about is the matchups in the box between Lawless and York and Nixon and Pope. They've got to be covered behind. Dooley has got to be sure, somebody's got to be sure that they do not get isolation situations where those 2 players are matched up against 2 strong attackers with no cover behind. The cover is crucial.
Ernie Stewart. Claudio Reyna. Well, you've got Dooley as the sweeper. Lawless and Pope doing the man marking, at least nominally. Claudio Reyna. Claudio Reyna. Stewart calling for the ball across the way. Harkes crossing. Not an out.
Well, Claudio Reyna and Harkes have played a tremendous game today. Each of them has worked furiously through the midfield. It's been such a step up from their tough performance against Guatemala. They got to feel happy about that.
That'll be a corner as Dwarka deflected it over the goal line. In the 74th minute of a match the U.S. owns by virtue of Thomas Dooley's goal. And you are behind Hayden Thomas, the 32-year-old Trinidadian keeper.
Eddie Pope in there, a good header, as we mentioned. Here comes Lawless around the back again.
Harkes with the corner. High for Lawless. Thomas comes out, does not control it, but his defense does. York. Dwight York comes back to win that ball, and TNT on the attack. A match they have to win to stay vital in this qualification group. The United States looking to pick up 3 more, stay on top of the table with 6 points, and play the same team in 2 weeks under much warmer conditions in Port of Spain. Nixon in the box, Pope is there. Keller watches it go out, and it was last touched by York for a goal kick.
Well, I think Jaron Nixon has a point here that, in fact, I think it might have been touched by Eddie Pope, and that's why Casey Keller didn't just grab that ball, because he thought it might turn into a back pass. And that, you see, Keller did the right thing. I think he let it roll over the line and took his chances with the corner and the call, and he got the call. But I think very definitely Eddie Pope got a touch on that ball.
Trinidad and Tobago readying another substitute. It'll be Alvin Thomas coming on, replacing Dwarka, who himself had come on as a substitute earlier in this match. So in the 76th minute, 29-year-old Alvin Thomas, who plays domestically in Trinidad and Tobago, making his 25th career appearance for the national side.
So this will now be the third opponent for Agus to have to watch out for. He's got another fresh player to be concerned about.
Stewart at the halfway line.
It's a tough job, Bob. You know, when you're out there working as hard as Agus has, and you mark a player hard, and then they bring in a sub, and you got a fresh player, and then they bring in another sub. Ooh.
Precky with Dexter Lee. No foul whistle.
Gentlemen, today's attendance is...
Well, Jeff Agus has done the job defensively and certainly offensively with that beautiful volley on the assist. And duly headed home in the 52nd minute. The only goal so far. Jaron Nixon, who has had 2 very good shots on goal today. Richard Theodore, second half substitute, number 16. David Knockett, number 12. Dexter Lee, number 17. Trinidad pushing up, the shadows lengthening here. Knockett looks to run on. Reyna. That's offside. Flag up across the way.
Well, not a bad idea to hit a long ball out of the back at times like that. But Winalda's got to time his run just a little better. Well, there's the home stretch for the U.S.
Very good second half effort this year, and especially in the last 15 minutes for the U.S. national side. He scored in the 90th minute. Brian McBride did last Sunday against Guatemala.
But defense is very often what wins games, and defense was what was suspect against Guatemala. So much better today, but they still have a good 15 or 13 minutes to go to get through this one.
York shielding, but Ramos to Ernie Stewart, working against Marvin Faustin. Now the throw-in for TNT, trying to keep the pressure on. They realistically need 2 goals. This is Dwight York, who plays with Aston Villa. Latipi, who plays for Boa Vista, losing the ball, and the U.S. in possession. Long ball for Winalda, with Stewart coming down the far wing and Brecky coming down the center. Winalda on his right foot, looking for Brecky. Headed out and well by Lee. York for Knockett. That ball won, though, by the U.S. by Reyna. Now Ernie Stewart waiting for some help, taking it in himself. Stewart whistling it high.
Well, the U.S. with lots of chances to put this game on ice, Bob, because when they get players forward like Ernie Stewart, that time they had 4 against 4 at the back. Trinidad and Tobago not going back to defend. But a good move by Stewart, and he sees he's got the near post, and he tries to go high near post, which is a good target for a shooter. High near post, low far post, and he just got way under it.
Russell Latipi for Trinidad and Tobago. And the U.S. just now bottling them up in the midfield when they try to work it up that way. And there, John Hartz with Winalda to the inside now, and Agus to his left. And a foul against Trinidad and Tobago. Tuesday on ESPN, Dick Vitale's Slam Bam Jam College Basketball Preview. Watching Dick, never a passive experience. 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. He will scope out the top teams. Got to turn Dickie on to soccer. I think he can get into the sport. Might be some matches you and Ty can't make. Oh, gosh. Can you imagine that?
I'm trying.
Yeah. Reyna with an attempt to get it to Hartz. And a U.S. player is down as Jeff Agus has gone over the touchline. And I don't know whether it's a cramp or he took a kick, but at this point, the U.S. playing a man down. Agus getting attention in front of the Trinidad and Tobago bench.
They need possession here now, just to keep the ball alive a little bit, not give it away.
Dooley with a ball for Agus, who just walked right on. Tom looked up, saw Jeff trotting on, and so played it to him.
Doesn't look good, though, for Agus.
No, he is hobbling. Precky with that ball. Ramos. Now Winalda switching on the right side. Eric Winalda still on the ball. Here comes Agus with his left foot. Oh, just wide. As Hayden Thomas.
I guess he's okay.
Yeah.
Good setup again. And Agus has been the player that we talked about at the top, who's had a great game, really. He's played more defensively than up in midfield. And you'll see here the tackle as he gets rid of the ball. And then he's hit just as he gets rid of the ball. Not a hard hit, but enough to twinge that muscle.
John Harkes, nice work. Tackled and fouled by Dexter Lee.
Well, Harkes has been superb. He's just been really at his best. He'd love to cap this performance with a goal, but look at him dodge away from this player as though it was his piece of cake. And then the touch inside and the last-minute lunge by Dexter Lee.
We may be seeing Kobe Jones as a substitute shortly for the U.S. He has taken off the sweats. Ernie Stewart now. When all the chips high, Dexter Lee let it sit down in the area.
Yeah. Very dangerous thing to do, Bob. You're never let a ball bounce in the area like that.
Brecky on the ball. The cross. Agus runs on for the header. And Thomas has it. We understand it'll be Kobe coming on for Eric Winalda when that substitute does take place. Jones injured this week in practice in a collision with Alexi Lawless, the reason he did not get the start today. As Lawless gets the foot in on Dwight York, and a foul against Lawless, and a dangerous free kick situation now for Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, those two have been tangling all day, Alexi Lawless and Dwight York, and sooner or later the referee's going to give a call. Somewhere he gave a couple of calls against York, but you see the foot come up there high. But I think it was the holding that went on before that with the arm over Dwight York's shoulder. Now, here's where things can come apart for the U.S. They've got a good wall, but there's some expertise, some guys that can hit this ball over the top. Russell Latapy is there. Dwight York can skim this ball over the top and find the corner. This right corner is wide open.
Touched by Keller as he brings it down on the attempt by York.
Well, Casey Keller had enough time to get over there without having to dive and touch it away. Ball slided over, but there was where the wind factor hurt a little bit, as you see in the replay. The ball needed to be hit a little faster than that. 7 saves by the goalkeeper Hayden Thomas and only 2 by Keller.
Who has really not been tested today.
No, I mean, that last ball, as I said, the wind just took slowed it down after it was swerved over the top of the wall, and that made it easy for him to get over and make the catch.
83rd minute, USA leading Trinidad and Tobago. They will play this team again in 2 weeks, then they will travel to Costa Rica 3 weeks from today, then come home to play Costa Rica. That match live on ESPN2 next month. Looking to qualify for the final round of CONCACAF qualification. Mexico is through. Canada has qualified as well for that final 6-team group. There are 3 groups currently of 4. And the top 2 from each group will move on to the next round. Lee, number 17, with a cross. Julie, the sweeper, puts it out. Knockett, number 12. Looking for York. Lawless in the air. Latapy, the captain. Again for York, holding off Alexi. Latapy looking for the opening for his left foot. And there it is. And Keller has it with Nixon in front.
Well, Dwight York does a good job, again, holding off Alexi Lawless and getting the ball and managing to get a nice touch back to Latapy. And that's the area where the U.S. has got to be concerned. If York and Nixon can hold the ball up with possession in the area, they can either turn and shoot or set up runners coming through for shots.
We talked about them at the top.
Yeah, no, they're
very skillful players.
Yeah. And they've seen a lot of the ball and not getting many shots out of it, but the percentages will turn their way.
Harkes for Winalda, who's about to leave for a substitute. Winalda with his right foot. Goal! Waldo does it again and puts the game away.
Well, that ought to take care of business, but you got to think Hayden Thomas is wondering what this American jinx is all about on goalkeeping by Trinidad, because that was a pretty pathetic attempt to save a not very difficult shot by Winalda, because that, of course, has been the history for them. Michael Maurice, who's on the bench, was the one who made the big mistake in '89. But here you see him shot, and the keeper's in good position here. There's the shot. Easily, really pretty easy to save, but he dives over the top of it, lets it hit under him, and it goes through for a tainted but nonetheless marvelous goal for the U.S. if you're a U.S. fan.
Kobe Jones comes on, Winalda on the bench. That substitute had already been reported into the fourth official. So as Eric came down on that rush, he knew he was leaving. And so Winalda in the 85th minute gives the U.S. the breathing room it was looking for, and a script much like last week. Last week they scored the U.S. in the 55th and 90th minutes. This week in the 52nd and 85th minutes. And there is Ernie Stewart fending off the defender, Anthony Rouget, and Hayden Thomas there to gallop out him.
Trinidad playing with 3 front players pretty much this last 15 minutes. No longer 2 up top, but 3 up top. As the number 13 player who came in off the bench, Alvin Thomas, very definitely gone up, and Jeff Agus doing a job marking him. Here's Kobe Jones.
Well, for the second week in a row, last week against Guatemala, a very professional effort in the face of a brutal and potentially intimidating physical attack by Guatemala, and this week against the skilled players on the front line of Trinidad and Tobago. Second week in a row, a very good showing by the U.S. in a match, the World Cup qualifying match, where there is no margin for error, and at any moment, all the chips are on the middle of the table. 2-0.
Well, the defense has been much better. There's no question about that.
York tries to control. Dwight York for Jaron Nixon. Pope watching him. Nixon still on it. Slips down and Dooley clears. No call.
It's fun to watch.
Minute, isn't it?
Fun to watch Nixon, though. He dances all over the place there.
Dare we say it? Nixon's the one.
Nixon's the one.
But today, he has not been the one to put it past Casey Keller.
So we probably see some long balls forward here for the U.S. now.
Latapy, saved by Keller, tested there, lifted high by Jones. Knockett, number 12. Nice touch there by Reyna, the U.S. in possession. Oh, Dexter Francis saving with Ernie Stewart doing some front running.
Yeah.
Chested by Agus, right back to Casey Keller. 88th minute, and our scoring summary, the Bud scoring summary, showing you that Agus and Harks have assisted Dooley and Winalda respectively. Harks, nice touch. Agus, that's still in. Alvin Thomas on the ball, looking for Dwight York, and Keller's out with Dooley in front as well. Keller looking for another clean sheet. He would move to 5-1-1 this year for the national side. It would be his 4th shutout for the national side in this calendar year, 1996. Ernie Stewart back there with Rouget, who heads it back to Hayden Thomas, the keeper.
Well, good all-round team performance by the USA. Agus certainly has done some very good things for them, but more than anything else, the defense has been more cohesive. There's been better balance. Some of the qualities that were lacking last time have been found. And got to give credit to Harks and Reyna for the effort they put in midfield. But all around, it's been a very good team effort by the U.S.
Stewart goes down, he's fouled. At one point, Brian McBride on the U.S. bench had taken off the sweats and might have been coming on as a substitute, but he is not. They have canceled that substitution. They, I don't believe, had handed the substitution pass in. So McBride puts the sweats back on, and he'll take a seat. He scored in the final moments last week. Harks with Agus to his left. Stewart for Harks. U.S. up 2-0. Looking perhaps for a cherry on top of the Sunday. There's Stewart in the box.
What a great seeing-eye pass there from Ramos, threading it right through the defense to a streaking Ernie Stewart. Almost came off.
Vegas just keeping possession. Dooley comes up to challenge for that. Reyna comes back as well. And so the U.S. playing out the strain. And another solid effort, another 3 points, another step on the road towards France in 1998. Stewart over the top. Our Snickers MVP for the United States national side today, Thomas Dooley, with the first goal after nearly putting a header in that was saved off the back line moments later with the goal for the U.S. And for Trinidad and Tobago, our Snickers MVP, Jaron Nixon, who has been in flashes absolutely brilliant in the box. And we are at full time. And the U.S. has put 3 more points, important points, up on the table.
Very important to get the wins at home and build a lead as they've done. And a crushing blow for Trinidad and Tobago, who now have only 1 point out of 3 games. So a great victory for the U.S. and a great job for the midfield and the defense in particular.
Thomas Dooley with a goal. Steve Sampson now 2 games deep into his career with World Cup qualifying experience. USA 2, Trinidad and Tobago. Nothing.